Hello and welcome. Today we're going to be looking at 10 ways to get texture into your watercolour paintings. So this is something that might be of interest to those of you who are beginners to watercolour and just want to know some techniques. But the thing about this is don't use every technique in every painting. Just use them when you need them to get that extra texture into your paintings. You can overdo it if you use them all in one painting. Okay, so the first one, I'm going to do this first because it needs to dry, is to use an old toothbrush. So when you have your toothbrushes and you finish with them, don't throw them away. You can always use them in your artworks. So keep one or two old toothbrushes, they can come in handy. So you need an old toothbrush and your masking fluid. Always give your masking fluid a good shake before you use it. And then try and get the childproof lid off. Like I've said before, these Winsor & Newton lids aren't great. And then get some of that masking fluid on the tip of your toothbrush like that, and then with your finger just splat it at the paper. I'm going to try and keep it in one area of the paper because I want to do other things on other areas. Okay, so the masking fluid is now splattered on there and we need to leave that to dry. So I'll pop that to one side, but you could of course also use that to put paint onto the paper, so you could add some texture with paint as well. So I'll just fasten that masking fluid up and pop that to one side. So that was number one. The second thing, again something that's going to need to dry, so we'll do it first, is to use a texture paste. You can either use a texture paste or you could use gesso for this if you haven't got texture paste. So it's a similar thing, this is a little bit thicker than the gesso. And I use a cheap plastic spatula for this, and I'll just pop this in this corner. So you pop some on wherever you need it. This might be for some rocks or whatever you're using it for, and then make some patterns and texture in it. So you can either draw some lines in it if you want, or some dabs, or if you just go like this and flick it off, you can get some interesting textures as well. So that's all going to depend on how thickly you put it on. But again, we need to leave that to dry, so that's why I did that as one of the first things. And then we'll come back later and put some paint on once it's dry. So I'll pop that one out of the way. And the next one I'm going to talk about, the third one, is using a dry brush. So this doesn't mean that your brush is totally dry because it's going to have some paint on. What it actually means is that you allow your brush to run out of paint. So I'm sure this is a problem you've had when you've been painting, is that your brush only holds so much paint and it eventually dries out. So what you need to do really is have a scrap of paper on the side and use up some of the paint that you've put on. And then as it's starting to dry out, go on to your painting. And if you go across the paper with the side of your brush and let it dry out, it just picks up the tooth. I'll start with a full brush. It picks up the tooth of the paper and you get that effect. So if you put that on top of another colour, imagine perhaps if it was a pathway or sand or something, you're just going to get that texture over the top. You might have done a different colour underneath and then you come across with some a darker colour for some maybe shadows of some pebbles or something like that. So that's quite a simple one, but it needs practice as well. And like I say, it's always good to have a scrap of paper and have a practice. So the next one we're going to talk about is wax resist. Now I've got a white wax pastel, but if you haven't got one, don't worry. You can use some of the children's Crayola pastels that you may have hanging around, or you can use a candle. Often we have candles in cupboards, and a nice white candle would do this just as well as the wax pastel if you haven't got one. So basically you're making some shapes. Again, we'll perhaps think maybe it's some texture in some stone or sand or pebbles. The trouble is you can't see it, and the other thing is you can't take it off once it's there. So you've got to be quite confident with this, and it's usually something you would do later on in a painting. And if you get your colour on your brush and just go over that, you'll soon see where we've got that texture that could be used for all sorts of things. I mean, with that paint's great, could nearly have been used for stars in the sky or something, but what you actually apply it to is dependent on obviously the subject that you're doing. So that's what another way is using the wax resist. Now the next one I've written down here is using an old credit card. So I've got an old store card that I don't use, And what you need to do for this one, and I've got funny colours in here, I've just mixed quite a few different colours up. But if you get 2 or 3 different colours, maybe you're doing a landscape and you want to do some bushes and things. Actually, I'll put one on this way around because you can see how we can use it to make maybe a tree. So let's pretend that's a trunk. So just pop your paint on, make sure it's still wet, and while it's still wet you can manipulate it with the side of your credit card. So something like that, you can get a nice shape of, can you see here how it's making these shapes? Maybe it could look like the trunk of a silver birch tree or something like that. And with these you can make shapes, maybe grasses, drag it across, and again you get a similar effect to this where you're running out of paint. And also it's quite nice if you use a few different colours, you're going to be mixing those colours together. So that's another thing. If you've got an old card like that, you can just keep it in your pencil case and it comes in handy just for manipulating paint whilst it's still wet. Pop that to one side. And the next thing I've got on here is salt. So we can actually put the salt into there. I'll just put a little bit more paint on. This is the nice bright Windsor Violet, this one. Let's put some orange on as well. This is a cadmium orange. So with this one, what I tend to do is put the salt into my hand first. Now the effect is going to vary depending on the salt that you use. Some of the table salts are a bit too fine. You want one that's, you know, a bit more shape to it, a bit bigger. And then you just sprinkle that in. And you can see already what's happening is the salt is attracting the moisture, sucking up the moisture. So as it does that, it's pulling the water towards it, but it's also pulling the pigment towards it. So when it's dried and we take it off, you'll see that you've got lots of little nice speckled effects. And again, that's something that you can have a bit of a practice on with a, you know, a scrap piece of paper. All of these things, you want to just try them first on a scrap piece of paper before you put them into your finished painting. So the next thing is cling film. So again, we'll get a couple of colours over here. And obviously the colours and the forms that you make to begin with is going to again depend on what you're painting. And you get your cling film and just rip a little piece off or shape it, make it nice and crinkly, and then you lie it on top. And just do another bit. And you can sort of draw with it, shape it as you get more used to using it. So again, we'll leave that to dry. So let's come to the next thing, and the next thing I put on here, so I've lost count of the numbers that were on, but that doesn't matter. I do know that there's 10 altogether, so I'll pop the numbers on later when I do the editing. So stippling. So with stippling you need a good stiff brush, but you don't need an expensive brush. And again, this is something that you could use an old toothbrush for, one of your old oil brushes, something that's nice and stiff. So not a soft watercolour brush, a nice stiff brush. Put it this way up in your paint and get the paint on the ends of the brush and then just stipple. So that's pretty straightforward, and it's pretty good for things like trees and shrubs. The only downside to the stippling is that because we've got a nice round shape and you're using the same brush over and over, you can end up with it looking too uniform and boring. So vary the angle of your brush a bit and vary where you're putting them to make it look less uniform. And again, you can add a different colour in and allow those colours to flow into each other while they're still wet, and you're going to get a different effect again. So if you can imagine, if you use 2 or 3 different greens and a yellow maybe, you're going to get some dappled light in some trees using stippling. So the next thing, similar to stippling, is using a sponge. So you can buy natural sponges from the art shop. Those are 2 quite different ones. You can see that's got a much smaller texture to it than this one's got these nice wide open holes. So again, with this one, I'll use purple this time. you can see how you could soon end up with it looking a bit too samey and uniform. So that's why it's good to have 2 or 3 sponges and not use the same one all the time. If you've not got any natural sponges, you can always use a kitchen sponge or a bathroom sponge, but to make it a bit more interesting, get your scissors and chop some little bits out so that you've got a few different shapes going on in there. So similar to stippling, but you can see that could be used for trees and things as well, but you get more coverage with the sponge than you do with the stippling, so less of the white of the paper showing. Okay, and the last thing I put on, I think we're up to number 10. Let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, number 10 is splattering with paint. So basically this means you need somewhere to work where it doesn't matter if you get paint all over the place, and you need clothes that it doesn't matter if you get paint on them as well. So from a distance, it's difficult to show you here with the camera in the way and things, but from a distance, get your paintbrush nicely loaded with paint and use your wrist to flick it. So step back from your painting and splat it across. So I'll do it just once more with a different colour from a different direction. So you see what I mean? You need to have old clothes, you need to have a tablecloth down or something that doesn't matter where you're getting it. I mean, if you're looking here, it's all over the window and everything, but it doesn't matter to me. But you do need to make sure everything's covered. But then again, it is only watercolour, so it will come out. Okay, so what we need to do now is just wait for this to dry a little, and then we'll come back and paint over that. Actually, I think this has dried. So this was the first one we did. This was the masking fluid put on with the toothbrush. So I've got some Payne's Grey, and we're going to go over that masking fluid. That we put on with the toothbrush. Let's pop a little bit of orange in as well. Make it a bit more interesting and a bit darker so that it does show up. Some purple, and we'll leave that to dry now, and then we'll come back once that's dry and take off the masking fluid. Now that's had a little while to dry, we can come along and take off that masking fluid, the first one that we did. So if you remember, this was the one where we flicked it with the toothbrush. And there you go, you can see how you've got that white of the paper showing through. Now you can use masking fluid on top of another colour, it doesn't have to be the white of the paper that you have. So if you wanted to put a yellow down first, then let it dry, put the masking fluid on, and then put some more paint on, you can do that as well. It's not something that you just have to use to allow the white of the paper to show through. It might be that you want to allow one of the other colours below to show through. And also don't forget, if you don't like it and there's areas that you want covering up, you can come along and cover it up as well and paint over it. But see how it's still showing through the texture. So it's depending on what you want it for. You may like to come along and work on it a little bit more, and we've still got that showing through. So it could be for a nice, it actually looks quite a marbling effect really. Could be used for stones and all sorts of things. So the other one that we did was the salt. So you probably can't see it, but there's still loads of salt on there. And what I tend to do is get something like this, a nice big soft dry brush, to sweep that off the paper. And you can, sorry, there's some hairs coming off this brush, and you can see there what a nice effect that salt's made. And again, if you want to, you can paint over the top of that. You know, it's not set in stone what you've got there, but because these were nice chunky pieces of salt, it sucked up quite a lot of the moisture and left us with these nice white areas. That's particularly nice for things like frost. Okay, so the other one that we need to have another look at is this one. So now it's dry, take off the cling film, and you've got that lovely texture there, again where the cling film has trapped the moisture, so it's sort of an opposite thing to the salt. This one's attracting the moisture, and this one's trapping it in different places. It looks really marbly, and the way the colours have moved into each other is really pretty. So, you know, it's what you want to apply it to really depends on your painting, like I've said before, but they can be used for all sorts of things. So lastly, this is now dry. This is the texture paste, and we can paint over the top of it. And as we paint over the top of it, you'll see that texture come out more and more. And I'll do a few pictures of some close-ups of all of these things to put at the end of the video as well, just to show you how they look close up. But again, like I said right at the beginning of the video, don't put all of these in every picture you do. And even when you're just using one or two of them, don't use them all over your picture. It's going to look way too busy. Just use them where you need them for that application. Just because we know all these techniques doesn't mean we should use them in every painting that we get too fussy. Okay, so I hope you found that useful. If there's one or two that you think will be particularly useful to you, you can rewind back and pause there, and because I know I've skipped through it quite quickly, I will put that list on my website for you to download. So thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you found that useful, and I shall see you again soon. Bye for now.